being able to contribute and build is by far more interesting than joining something that's already been established. One of the exciting things about the advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, this cluster that's being groomed and grown here in this region, is that it's just starting. The excitement of the new ideas and the ways in which to do business is happening every day here in the Richmond-Petersburg region.
During the pandemic, members of our coalition in the greater Richmond and Petersburg market recognized that there was a critical shortage of essential medicines in the U.S. and the need to reshore the making of those medicines. And that is a key factor in what we are working on here in our market.
It's an exciting time in this region because we have all of these companies that are touching different parts of the pharmaceutical ecosystem. And then we've created a coalition that's creating a workforce and attracting other companies to the region. So we're really working together to build up the pharmaceutical sector in this part of the state.
It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to have this coalition of groups, whether they're economic development groups, service organizations, community colleges, and other universities, as well as other public and private companies coming together through a common cause to try to work in solving this critical national public health security issue.
Those collaborations have been able to create what we call the Alliance for Building Better Medicine.
There's a great desire to actually build this industry here in Virginia.
Virginia is rich for business, and this is an incredible opportunity to expand on an industry like pharmaceuticals. What's happening in Petersburg is one of the most exciting things I think happening in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Over $500 million in federal grants have been applied to that area, close to $1 billion when you factor in private investment, public investment, federal and state investment.
You want to be part of a remarkable team and be part of a whole change of a culture of a region. This is the place to be.
It takes a village. There are so many people involved, and the reshoring of activities, it cuts across sectors and organizations and components of our economy that you wouldn't even think of.
I want to bring the collaboration at the community, the grassroots level. And I think that we have to operate at both levels and even in between to bring that and build that awareness of the opportunities for this region.
The Alliance has really shown me what is possible when education, training, economic and workforce development, localities and business and industry with vision come together.
The way that we prepare a workforce pipeline for biotechnology and pharmaceutical manufacturing in the region is we offer training programs that are sector-led. And by sector-led, that means that we've met with employers and we continue to meet with employers, and they tell us the competencies they need in their employees. And then we build academic programs that develop those competencies for the future workforce.
It connects academic institutions with the companies that put themselves here physically, and this is the cluster.
We have the structure and facilities in place that allow our researchers to develop manufacturing insights that allow us to breathe new life into new and existing manufacturing processes.
All of the work that we're doing here in Central Virginia, it's having an impact on the country as a whole and also internationally with regards to other areas of the world.
Any company that's looking to expand in the life sciences industry would want to consider Virginia as their home. I think that Virginia has a unique opportunity to make a global impact in the life sciences region, and the collaborative suite of companies that are here are already doing that work, and more that join us, we can only make that impact a little bit greater.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the Alliance for Building Better Medicine Supply Chain Webinar Information Series. The series will explore and inform the audience about the growing advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing and biotech ecosystem developing in the Richmond-Petersburg, Virginia region. My name is Vanessa Womack, and I am the Inclusive Community Development Consultant for the Alliance. This webinar will explore educational pathways through key partners that support the Alliance's efforts. Our guests are Dr. Kathy Goodson, Associate Professor, Project Manager, Applied Engineering Technology at Virginia State University, Dr. Nastassja Lewinski, Associate Professor, Department of Chemical and Life Science Engineering at VCU College of Engineering, and Drexel Harris, Senior Advisor, Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Program, Learning and Student Success at Brightpoint Community College in Chester, Virginia. Welcome, Dr. Goodson, Dr. Lewinski, and Drexel. Let's get started. Now, I want for this educational pathway to start with the Brightpoint's curriculum and training programs and have you all construct an educational pathway from the community college through the advanced degree programs at VSU and VCU. So Drexel, could you briefly describe your role at Brightpoint and its importance for achieving student success?
At Brightpoint, I'm the Senior Advisor for the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Program, and my role is to make sure that we design two programs that will provide the entry-level skills necessary for folks that enter into the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry. It's also to work with the industry partners to make sure that we're designing programs that meet their needs, and then work with the students from start to finish, from recruiting them, basically knowing nothing about the pharmaceutical manufacturing program, to getting them through the financial aid, the registration, and then preparing them for the interviews at the end of the process.
Could you share just a little bit about the pharma curriculum at Brightpoint and the certification training programs? Just a little bit.
So at Brightpoint, the pharmaceutical curriculum is 18 credits, and it goes from basically good manufacturing, good documentation, to hands-on laboratory experience that they get. They learn about gowning and safety precautions, and then actually they end up making medicine, but it's aspirin, right? But they end up making aspirin, going through the complete process of making that. All this is based on what the industry told us is important. At the end of the process, visual inspection is a big part of the final formulation. So Civica in particular has asked us to include visual inspection so that they can detect foreign materials or particles within the medication that they produce.
Okay, thank you so much. And you mentioned one of the prime manufacturers, Civica, and we know that Flow and Ampac are two of the other key manufacturers in this pharmaceutical cluster. Let's move on to Virginia State. Dr. Goodson, could you briefly discuss your applied engineering education and your role at VSU?
Hi, I'm Dr. Kathy Goodson, and I am the lead for the Pharmaceutical Engineering Pathways Project. This is a project that links VSU to VCU for studies in pharmaceutical engineering. I work between the Colleges of Engineering and Technology and the College of Health and Natural Sciences, or College of Natural and Health Sciences at VSU, in order to bring curriculum development, opportunities, experiential learning in chemical manufacturing, chemistry, manufacturing engineering, and pharmaceutical engineering.
Very good. Now, Dr. Lewinski, since you mentioned VCU, as we all know, Virginia Commonwealth University, a similar question for you about your chemical and life science engineering education and role at VCU.
So first, I'd like to thank you, Vanessa, for this opportunity to share information about our education programs at VCU, and I'm appreciative to be here with my colleagues, Drexel and Kathy. At VCU, I'm in the Chemical and Life Science Engineering Department, which houses education programs in chemical, pharmaceutical, and environmental engineering. And as the graduate program director, I plan and oversee the graduate master's and doctoral degrees in chemical engineering and our new master's in environmental engineering. My colleagues, Thomas Roper and Sandra DeRocha, direct our PhD program in pharmaceutical engineering, which is the only one in the nation. We're pretty proud of that. And being in a large urban university setting, I feel like our students are fairly fortunate in the small, intimate class sizes that we have, so they have a lot of face time with our faculty.
This is very unique, and thank you for being in that position. And since we have started down that pathway with the connection of VSU and VCU, you have such a great collaboration in providing opportunities, the training, education to this pharmaceutical and biotech ecosystem. So What do you see the future needs for both institutions, the future needs of these types of jobs and education to support the APM? We'll start with you, Dr. Goodson, and then pick up with Dr. Lewinski, and then, of course, Drexel, please chime in.
So this is a very natural collaboration between VSU and VCU, looking at where VSU is located in Petersburg, Virginia, and part of our mandate is to connect the Petersburg region, the workforce, research in advanced manufacturing to the university and to industry itself. So because of the Civica flow coming into the region, it makes it a prime place for us to be able to spark the needs for the future workforce and just global supply chain issues. We are working towards making researchers, we're working problem solvers. So yes, we're making STEM problem solvers. So in essence, even though our focus is for the manufacturing and for chemical engineering and pharmaceutical engineering, we also believe that we're making the next global leaders that will help us solve the type of problems when we're trying to reshore our medicine in the United States.
Dr. Lewinski, do you want to add to that?
Yes, I'd like to reinforce what Dr. Goodson said. We're creating global leaders, the future innovators in the advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing space, and the students have a wide array of opportunity to gain experiences in research and the cutting edge technologies that are moving our advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing forward.
It's so exciting. Every time I have these interviews, I get excited about what's happening here. So Drexel, very quickly, please.
Yes, I didn't mention CCWA, the Community College Workforce Alliance. So they have a 4-month certification program. And I start there because we're creating pathways and collaborating too. And a pathway from the 4-month non-credit program, they can get up to 1 course credit to go into the Brightpoint Career Studies Certificate Program. And we're also working with VSU and VCU in order to create pathways for those students who want to go and do the things that they just described. So at VSU, I think we have 3 or 4, is it 3? Three pathways that we're going to prepare students for. And at VCU, working with Dr. DeRocha, we're going to have 1 pathway for folks who want to continue that path.
Well, you basically answered my next question about the skills and education, so I appreciate that. So let's move on to what are some of the challenges or concerns students are facing as they apply to enter your institutions to study these very highly skilled careers? What are some of those challenges or concerns? And for example, tuition. And I know Drexel, with Brightpoint, you have mentioned before transportation from rural areas, or meeting minimal requirements for a particular subject. And thanks for bringing up STEM, because those subjects are very critical for students to enter into these kinds of curriculums. But I do understand there may be some apprehension from some students that I don't have the right math skills.
Okay. I'll start. I think we're kind of at the forefront of training these students for the entry-level position. So the math skill does frighten some students, and some of the courses are in some cases introducing them to algebra, right? Introducing them to equation solving. And a lot of students, when they hear that, when they see that, they get nervous. But to support them in that effort, we've developed a bridge program that will identify those students who need extra help, and we have modules set up to help get them through. We work with VCU in order to develop that bridge program. Transportation, you mentioned, is an issue, and because most of the training is hands-on, so they need to be on location, as is the case with these two universities. So that's mine. So the math funding is not much of a problem because we have G3 and fast forward funding that will cover most, if not all, of the tuition. So.
Okay. Dr. Lewinski, what kinds of challenges have you worked with students to provide some solution for?
So I think one of my colleagues, Rachel Lewinski, who helps me direct these strategic pathways, put it very nicely in the sense that we need to get more people to the door, in a sense. So there's a lot of exciting career opportunities in chemical engineering and pharmaceutical engineering, and it's more, how do we get the students to want to explore those pathways, and then once they come into the door, then how do we support them through their journey to the graduation, and then, I always like to tell our students our relationship doesn't end when they graduate, but they can always, seek the faculty again as they continue in their careers. And so to me, it's again encouraging and getting our students to say when they are needing help, or also just kind of letting them know of all of the opportunities, because in today's world, at least compared to when I was a student, there is so much information coming at students nowadays, and it's sometimes hard to filter through all of that messaging.
And Dr. Goodson, being at VSU, which is an HBCU, I'm sure there's some challenges that might be a little bit unique to the students that you're trying to recruit into your advanced programs.
Absolutely. I would say as an HBCU, Virginia State is mission mandated towards opportunity and access. We are here working together with Brightpoint and VCU so that we can offer the type of resources for whatever, so that you can actually make a choice. In terms of pathways, we don't know where you're coming on, we don't know where you're coming off, but we are here to provide you what you need so that you can make a choice to go into these fields. We do offer direct scholarship, but as you mentioned before, we serve underserved populations that have different financial needs than maybe others. They may have different access needs depending on where they went to high school in the region. So we're here to make sure that we are allowing actual hands-on experiential learning and direct scholarship so that this can be one of the opportunities you make a choice to fulfill.
So let's move on. Drexel, I know that you may have a quick answer to this question. Student successes, and I'd like to hear at least from you and probably from VSU, Dr. Goodson, and how you have really had some student successes or some stories to share with the audience.
We have several. There's one student in particular, Ayana is her name, and nothing against working in retail or in fast food, but she was working at Walmart, so she had a job. And that's what it was a job. And so when she found out about the program, one of the very first ones who found out about it, she came through, she completed the program, graduated, and now she's working at Civica. So we talked to her to ask her, to talk about that experience. And so she was first generation to go to college. She was first one to go into a technical field like this. And she said she just loved the mission. I'm probably going to mess up the mission of Civica, but the mission is provide affordable medicine, life-saving medicine for all. And so she felt that she was having an impact, that she made a difference. So she's really excited about it. She planned to continue her associate's degree and maybe go to one of these institutions to continue her education. We have a lot of stories like that, but that's just one.
How about you, Dr. Goodson?
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our summer program. So we
yes.
ran the VSU Summer STEM Institute, Pathways to Engineering and Science. And as part of this, we really were trying to build on our footwork for engagement in the community. When the students were brought in, their parents came for orientation, and their parents also came back as we closed the program. What I found was particularly enlightening or surprising to me is when we're talking about pharmaceutical engineering, there's so much in terms of formulation, discovery, and actual production. And that's not necessarily communicated in an easy way in layman terms. So it was an opportunity for us to talk with not just students, but also parents about what we were actually doing at all of our institutions. So we had, as I mentioned, they had the students come in with their parents. And at the end of the program, we ran a 4-week non-residential program that was project-based. The students were explaining what they did for the summer. The parents already know their students are smart, but they didn't realize the capacity that they were going to learn in terms of pharmaceutical engineering and the opportunities allowed for at Brightpoint, at VCU. that would come together in the culmination of this program. So that was really an enlightening, like we have people saying, like, I didn't even know that they were gonna do this. So that was very, I feel that was very successful.
That's a light bulb moment, especially when you involve the parents who are so excited to see their children, their students excel. So let's move on to Dr. Lewinski, because this is a basic or general question I had in my mind. We talk about biotechnology and life sciences. Dr. Lewinski, can you just clarify, is there a distinction between life sciences and biotechnology?
So this is going to sound like I'm putting my professor hat on. So from a definitional perspective, you would say life sciences is the bigger umbrella, right? That's how we study life processes and living organisms. And biotechnology is really then harnessing our knowledge for that to develop new technologies. And that could be using organisms to produce medicines, right? It could be, hijacking biological processes to make, say, a more energy efficient process, because living organisms have evolved and optimized systems over many years. And so that's where, if we can leverage that, then we could make strides in making more sustainable processes too. So that's again where the engineering piece, there's so many terms that are used. I can see how people could get confused. There's bioengineering, biological engineering, the biotechnology, life science engineering. They're all, in a way, looking at how can we leverage what we know about biological systems and harness that information to advance technologies.
Thank you for that. I think it's important. It was important to me, so I'm sure it's important to those who might want to hear what are these sciences? What is biotechnology? So thank you so much. And as we wrap up, I do want to thank all of you for being here, but I want to hear, what is your message for students and parents to consider advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing or other types of manufacturing jobs? And we'll start with Drexel.
My message is you can do it. You can do it. You can come, and I mentioned Ayanna before. She didn't know anything about the industry. She didn't know it existed, but she came in, and now she's a working professional in the industry. So it can be done. And even if you're not sure about whether you want to do pharmaceutical manufacturing, the skills that you gain through these programs can lead you into food processing, to laboratory technician, a whole bunch of other areas. So you can do it. That's my message.
Thank you. Dr. Lewinski?
I would say that this is a place where you can, or in a field also, where you can make a difference. And so there are a lot of opportunities to get involved, gain hands-on experience, as well as research experience, and be part of teams that are developing the next technologies that will be used in industry. And so I would encourage whichever path folks choose, and whenever you choose to pursue that path, it's never too late, and to just be active and participate.
Bring it home, Dr. Goodson.
I'm an advocate, a natural advocate for STEM as a biochemist myself. And I want to say, if you look at STEM and look at the workforce, look at the careers in STEM, we are closing wage gaps. We are offering opportunities, we are offering access, we're offering lifelong earnings, our highest in STEM fields. So I say this is a place that you can develop resources that can change your life, or utilize resources that will change your life, give you opportunities to go above and beyond in terms of what you want to do. And we are purposely working together in pathways that are not just happenstance. We are specifically making sure that there are connections between all of our institutions that will allow you to thrive.
Very good. Thank you so much. This concludes the interview. We will proceed to Q&A.
We have with us Dr. Lewinski, Dr. Goodson, and Drexel Harris, who were featured in the pre-recorded interviews. So thank you all for joining us, and let's get ready to answer some questions. I do want to let you know that you can put your questions in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand or just unmute, feel free to do so. We have one question already, and that question is, are the education programs a series of classes that have to be taken back to back Or can students take courses with breaks between them leading up to completing it later? Now, that's why we try to integrate from the community college to VSU to VCU. So who wants to take that question?
I'll take the first shot at it. So at Brightpoint, CCWA and Reynolds, we have programs. So the CCWA program is definitely in sequence. You start with the cohort and you go through, it's a 4-month program. The Brightpoint program, and I imagine the Reynolds program, is semester-based, and ideally for the CSC, you would take 1 semester and the other semester immediately following. But we know that people have, you know, different restraints and requirements on their time too. So it is possible if someone cannot do it all in one shot, they can do it. But the majority, over 90% of 95% of the folks who've gone through the program have done it sequentially. So the classes are programmed off so that by the time they get to the end of the second semester, they're on track. Reynolds already have an associate's degree program, and you know there's a track for you to complete it in a 2-year time frame. But again, many of our students at the community college working students also. So ideally in sequence, but depending on the person, we might be able to work up a plan for you.
Okay, either Dr. Lewinski or Dr. Goodson, you want to chime in to answer any portion of that question in the chat? Can students take courses with breaks between leading up to completing it later? And I know that these are, with both of your institutions, these are mostly 4-year degree programs and beyond. So any comments you'd like to add to that?
I can go next. So
okay.
The master's and PhD programs, again, we have masters in chemical engineering and PhDs in chemical engineering and pharmaceutical engineering. So in terms of completing the degree program, there can be pauses. We have students going on internships, for example. Some of our master's students work towards completing the degree part-time. But I guess I'm trying to also interpret the question. So can you take the course that are part of these degree programs on and off? At the moment, no. So they are going to the second question. A majority of the ones offered at VCU are in person. We are growing the number of hybrid or online offerings, but those are to come. And so you would have to complete a semester-long course from beginning to end in person. And that may shift in the future, but that's not what's offered now. But in terms of completing the degrees, you could space that out as long as it's within the time to degree.
Okay, I'd like to read that next question from Brent. And thank you so much for the compliment, Brent. These webinars have been very, very well received. And for those who are on this call, please share with others in your network. So Brent's question, what are some of the most effective ways you have found to reach out to potential students and let them know about these amazing programs? Is it open house? Is it social media, speaking with someone who has completed the program? All of the above, and it's probably all of the above, but jump in there, Dr. Goodson or Lewinski.
I would say all of the above. We've definitely had some great footwork with open houses and planned events, but I'm finding that the tactical level, send me a name and I'll make an appointment with the student, or I'll show up in classrooms, or people will ask me to come to their events, and I make these one-on-one connections and I have them meet in my office, and then we kind of like talk through what it looks like. I'm finding that that's what's been giving us the best return on investment.
And similarly, we host a lot of events. As I said, all of the above. We've had a lot of reception nationally when we go to our American Institute of Chemical Engineers annual meeting. And so we've hosted a workshop there talking about advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing. And not this past fall, but 2 falls ago, we had over 200 students join that workshop. So it was very great to see so many students interested in this field.
Very good. Drexel, I know you always have something to add to the conversation, but I know that Brightpoint is out there in so many communities, really taking that message about the Brightpoint Advanced Pharmaceutical Curriculum.
Okay, I would agree all of the above. We have been very successful with like we have an electronic marquee right on I-95, and many people see that marquee and they reach out to us and ask about the program. We've done not electronic billboards, some of them are electronic billboards in the community in Petersburg and Hopewell and the likes like that. So we get a lot from there, but we do have 2 dedicated outreach coordinators for this pharmaceutical manufacturing program. And they go out to any and every type of event from information sessions at the library to the Jazz Festival in Brunswick. You know, we go wherever we need to reach people, including the military base Fort Greg Adams. So all of the above. I just want to hit the other question I see in the chat. One about are some of the classes offered remote whatever. For the most part, these training programs that we have here are hands-on. We have over $1 million worth of equipment that we purchased. And to complete the program, you have to come into the classroom. We are working with some of the rural areas to do some of the classroom instruction remotely. Maybe the the vehicle you see behind me, the mobile flex lab, we can take that out and get the hands-on portion. But right now, I would say that there's very little opportunity for remote, and mostly it's hands-on coming on campus.
Okay, thanks very much. We're getting to the next question by Christopher. And as I read this question out loud, I want you all to be prepared to respond to a quick survey that will pop up any moment now. So the question from Christopher, and that's okay, Christopher, that you missed the first few minutes of this. I want to remind everyone that all of our webinars are available on our Alliance for Building Better Medicine website, and I think even on YouTube. So, oh my gosh, let's make sure that we get these out there. But so, Chris, don't apologize because these are going to live for a long time. Is there need to complete any STEM-based prerequisites before starting this program? Bio or anything life science, biotech related? And that's a good question. Are there any prerequisites for STEM? And I'll start with Dr. Lewinski.
So focusing on the graduate programs, then yes. Typically, the folks that enter our master's program, either they can go straight into the advanced level engineering courses with a bachelor's in engineering. The majority of the students have earned a bachelor's in chemical engineering, but we've had mechanical engineers, biomedical engineers also come into our master's program. If you have a non-engineering STEM background, so say bachelor's in chemistry or physics, then we have 2-course prerequisite, what we call a bridge program, to introduce you to those engineering concepts that you may not have had as a undergraduate student to better prepare you for the advanced graduate level courses in the master's program. If you're talking about undergraduate degrees, and I'll pass that to my colleague Kathy here, but it's not necessarily a prerequisite.
So for the pathways in terms of the undergraduate Bachelor of Science degree programs, there are some STEM requirements. And these lead to the 4-year degrees. So they would be the basic that you would have in science and math. I do want to also talk about something we talked before in terms of the sequential and course offerings. We are in progress of working for a certificate program. The certificate program would give you an introduction to topics that could be, we're trying to aim for it to be on demand So that's something that we're working on for future work, so that could add to the nonlinear pharmaceutical engineering opportunities to find new connections. We also, the internships that we mentioned before that we have that are associated with the program are throughout the year. They're also in the summer, and we even have some in the winter. So there are opportunities for off-season or off-cycle experiential learning.
Right. Very good. And that leads into the next question. Thank you for your answers. From Benedict, what particular majors are the target of the program? And I think any one of you can chime in and start that. What particular majors are the target of our APM or Advanced Pharmaceutical Manufacturing ecosystem?
For our initial, here we're looking at chemistry and manufacturing engineering. However, I'd like to point out, as Dr. Lewinski mentioned earlier, there's a program that would introduce those students who may be STEM oriented or sort of related before they would enter into an advanced degree at VCU in chemical engineering. And that's what allows students who don't necessarily come from those particular backgrounds. What we're finding is that we have a lot of interdisciplinary interest, but there are ways for you to be on target if this is a program that you want to start, even if that's not your particular background.
Okay. Dr. Lewinski or Drexel? Particular majors. I mean, she probably just shared it for all of you.
I think that covers it pretty well. Just for its prereqs, you know, that was the previous question. I just want to get that in. With the CCWA and Brightpoint program, we're at the beginning of this path here. And so the prereqs they're none. Okay, we take people who never even worked in this type of field, and we have a bridge program for those who need it so that they can come up to speed. But they're really none, and by the time they finish with our training program, they're ready and have been employed in entry-level positions within the pharmaceutical industry. And obviously, as you move on up, as Dr. Goodson and Dr. Lewinski said, then there are prereqs for their program.
I just put a question, well, not a question. I'm asking if you are in a room or others are in the room with you as you are participating or listening to this webinar, please let us know. Just put down the number of people who are in the room with you. We want to capture as much data information as possible. So if you are sharing this webinar with others in your workplace or in the classroom, I think this would have been a great webinar for classrooms. So please let us just put that number in there. Another question, where do those with supply chain or logistics background fit in, going on by the optics of this webinar? That's a good question. So whoever wants to answer that, where do those with supply chain or logistics fit in, background fit in for what we're talking about, the advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing? And let me just a second, because I want to announce that our supply chain and entrepreneurship webinar is next week. So Benedict, I want you to make sure, and everyone else, that our next webinar is going to highlight supply chain and entrepreneurship. So who wants to answer that question? Where do those who with a supply chain and logistics background fit in?
I can try. So again, putting the lens on from graduate education, right? So if someone has a bachelor's in supply chain management from business, this is where, if you are interested in pursuing a master's in chemical engineering, we would have a discussion. In my mind, a graduate degree is it's a post-bachelor's, so it's an advanced aspect. And so that's where our bridge program could help. If there are additional prerequisites based on the prior coursework, then we can talk about what additional, if any, supplemental courses would set a person for success in our master's program, for example. So in my mind, if you're pursuing a master's, which is extra beyond a bachelor's, a lot of, and I'm thinking from an engineering perspective here. So, you know, a bachelor's with engineering, it has a lot of job opportunities afterwards. And that's the same for a lot of STEM backgrounds. Then, you know, you're trying to get into a different space or maybe focus in a certain area. And so that's again where we would talk about your career goals and how the degree could help you reach those goals and how to ensure that you are set up for success entering into our program, given the experiences you've had prior to entering the program.
I would just add, you know, with the programs we offer at the community college, the CCWA, we have folks coming in with bachelor's degrees, associate degrees, even master's degree. And what I would say is with these pharmaceutical companies, we're looking at a career, right? And so if you come in and you have a supply chain or logistic type background and you go through our training program, it's just going to enhance your ability to move up and through the organization. If you're talking, when you're talking about supply chain and logistics, if you're talking outside of the educational thing, what opportunities, I think the webinar coming up can probably explore that better. And but there will be opportunities there. I'm focused primarily on the education piece. So if you have that already, if someone have that already, they go through our training program, it's just gonna expand the opportunities that they have within the pharmaceutical industry.
Very good. Great segue into our next week's supply chain and entrepreneurship. We're about to wind up. I really appreciate our guests who were able to join us after the recorded pre-recording to share more information. I put in the chat a recent announcement about receiving the Alliance for Building Better Medicine, and with Reynolds, J. Sarge Reynolds leading the charge, the Good Jobs Challenge Grant, which was just recently awarded to the Help Us Grow in this area to support education and workforce development for our advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing ecosystem. So that link is in there. If you didn't see it, I can probably grab it and put it back in there. So if there are no other questions or comments, we really appreciate you being with us and hope that this has been informative. This is number 4 of our series of 7 webinars. And you can see all the pre-recorded webinars on our website. And with that, any parting words from anyone here on the panel or anyone who's participating? And if you enjoy this, hey, give us a thumbs up. And if you're in the room with other people, please just put that number of other people in the room with you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see you back here for supply chain and entrepreneurship. Look for any social media, and you can always reach out to me at Activation Capital or the Alliance for Building Better Medicine. So thank you, Nastassja, Kathy, and Drexel.